Thank you so much, everyone. And let's get down to our main conversation of today. The Senate is planning to introduce a bill to address election and post-election violence in Nigeria. According to the upper chamber of the National Assembly, the proposed bill, if signed into law, will prescribe severe punishment for perpetrators of violence during any election in the country. The proposed bill at the Senate is coming amidst a nationwide outcry over the growing number of victims of election violence, particularly the recent cases in Kogi and Bayelsa State during the 16th November governorship elections there. Well, there seems to be a related conversation around that in the lower chamber, that is in the House of Representatives. In the Green Chamber, the move is there to investigate the circumstances surrounding the violence during the election, despite the deployment of over 60,000 policemen to both states.
And myself can come up with a bipartisan bill to look at the punishment for electoral violence and see how we can raise a law in this particular chamber and also in the Federal House of Representatives to really take due note of this process and prescribe a legal regime that's going to be able to address it. Electoral violence knows no partisanship. Let's be very, very clear about it.
I believe that those who perpetrated the violence, especially in the last elections in Bayelsa and Kogi, should be apprehended and prosecuted. And I believe that this is the way to go. People should pay the price of their actions.
Let's discuss this, everyone. Don't forget, there's been a lot of proposition. There is a committee by the Lemu Committee, there is the Justice Waste Committee report. There's been a whole lot of paperwork that has been done. There was a white paper on the Justice Waste Committee report that was prescribing a whole lot. There seems to be several things that are being reported, but does not come to reality at some point. How do we go from here when election turn into violence and people are being killed? So let's get talking, everyone. We get conversation across party divides and, of course, get unbiased conversation also from an observer. Joining me from our Abuja studio is a former lawmaker and a chieftain of the APC, Honorable Farouk Adamu Aliyu. Thank you so much for coming on the program tonight. And also Mr. Samson Itodo is an executive director of YIAGA, one of the groups that observe the elections in Bayelsa and Kogi State. Also, we have via Skype joining us, Mr. Ken Okolugbo is a member of the PDP. He joins us via Skype tonight. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on tonight. Let me begin with you, Mr. Itodo. If you look at what has been said over the last years on special elections, court, on how we can prosecute election violence and election-related offenses. But here we are again. What do you think is happening when the National Assembly says they are going to propose a bill on the issues of election violence?
Well, thanks, Joe. It's quite heartwarming to see that the National Assembly is rising to its responsibility and taking legislative action on this issue. It's long overdue, and it just speaks to the nature of politics. As a civil society advocate, as well as a Nigerian, I'm glad to see that we're not sweeping under the carpet the mayhem, the brigandage that fraught the Kogi and Bayelsa elections. As a country, we have to rise up in condemnation of this, but move beyond condemning it to actually taking critical action. And so it's good to see the National Assembly putting this at the front burner of legislative action. Having said that, there are three fundamental issues that we need to consider. One is, why would politicians take to violence and brigandage because they want to seek political power at all costs? It speaks to the nature of our politics in Nigeria, and that's something we need to fix as we try to fix elections or electoral process. It's this zero-sum nature of our politics. And so maybe we need to go back to Justice Uwais Committee's reports that propose proportional representation. Because when you have first past the post, when it's winner takes all, politicians will take to every mechanism or whatever tool that they have at their disposal or disposition to actually get political power. The second is the cost of politics. Politicians come to politics as a do-or-die affair. They are ready to kill, as you can see, using guns or whatever means, just because they want to get political power. But it's just a level of impunity that is increasing by the day. And that's the greatest fear that we have, that if we don't nip this in the bud, 2023 there may not be anything like 2023 elections, because the elections in both states...
Let me allow Honorable Farouk Adamu Aliyu to come into the conversation. Honorable Adamu Aliyu, there's been a lot of concern from the National Assembly, from a lot of Nigerians, owing to the deaths that we've seen. But if you look at it, let's take the Kogi and Bayelsa elections for an example. Your party benefited from that election. Your party won in both states at the governorship level. And you see the kind of violence that was that came up that we saw. How would you assess, or are you concerned? Are you worried about what has happened? A lot of people say there is a decline in the values of our election.
Well, good evening, viewers. It's true. Honestly, it's let me seize this opportunity to commiserate with those that lost, families of those that lost their lives, and those that are wounded, on behalf of all Nigerians, actually. Because look, there is no, in as much as we are all guilty, we are also victims. What I mean, across political divide. And sadly also, yes, there is nothing wrong in making a bill or a commission or tribunal to try such cases. But as at today, the laws in this country are enough to prosecute people. How come today we don't have anybody being prosecuted by the police or somebody to be jailed, so that we can see, even before the National Assembly does what it wants to do? So there should be example. Examples should be like those that killed the woman in Kogi. The police, I saw in the papers yesterday that they apprehended 6 of them. We as Nigerians should follow that to logical conclusion, because it's not about party, it's about a Nigerian being killed. So as a people, we should come together and condemn this act, and also politicians should please, in the name of God, not play politics as a matter of life and death. Because what do you go? You go to rule over people that you've wounded, you go to rule over people you have killed. So as I said, it is collective responsibility. This has got nothing to do with the party, it's across board. We are all guilty and we're all victims. So I think the police should, as at now, start going deep to find out the perpetrators of the people that killed that woman, and then in Bayelsa and all across, those that have hands in this thing should be prosecuted, so that we will see, show them, shame them, so that nobody will do this kind of thing again. But as it is now, we're in trouble as a nation. And I don't think like putting a special commission to do that will be any different. The laws we have now, the agencies we have, if they are serious, they should be able to show us the way to prosecute.
Honorable Aliyu, we have a member of the PDP, Mr. Ken Okolubo. Let me allow him to come into the conversation now. Mr. Okolubo, from the point of your party, what has happened? Your party will say, oh, you did not benefit from the election, in the sense that your party lost in Bayelsa, your party lost in Kogi State, and your party has been saying, look, the violence has been meted on us.
Well, it's very obvious those that benefited from the process, just like you said. I'm surprised the man at the other end in Abuja is saying that we should shame them. Shame who? It's going to be the APC you're going to have to shame at the end of the day, because I was in Bayelsa as a publicity secretary of the National Campaign Council, and we were even apprehensive for our own lives. those of us that were there to support and to monitor what was the process that was going on there. It's not about PDP speaking. It's about the CDD, the TMG, the election situation room led by no other person but a very credible Nigerian, Clement Nwankwo. They all condemned these elections and said it was one of the worst elections that have ever taken place in the history of the country. Look at Salome that was killed in Kogi, for example, where they're saying they want to find the perpetrators. Who are the perpetrators? The perpetrators are apparently those who benefited from the process. It couldn't have been PDP that would have killed their own woman leader. Let me not even go beyond what the electoral observers have said. Let me say what we witnessed. What we witnessed was brazen daylight robbery. I'm not saying PDP must always win elections, like I've always said. But when you go into an election, you should go into an election with a purpose. And the purpose is for you to have a free and fair process and to at least satisfy, maybe not 100%, which is not what we're expecting, but let it seem to have had substantial compliance. That is not what we saw in Biles, and that's not
on Sunday on the program, we had a PDP senator who was in the race in that election in Kogi State and a spokesperson of the governor of Kogi State. And the spokesperson of the governor of Kogi State was saying PDP were also involved in violence. Those are the allegations. And he gave pictures, as well as what Senator Melaye also gave pictures and videos of what happened. Some people will say the major parties in the election were involved in the violence. Are you saying there were no PDP members or supporters that were involved in any kind of violence in the election, despite the fact that you did not benefit from the election?
Well, it's obvious that those that have died so far have been members of the PDP. That is the truth, and that's a sad truth. When we play politics, we should try to be objective and we should try to be very frank. The truth about it is, we're not saying that there might not have been some pocket of violence maybe from our end, but where was the pocket of violence? Was it in Nembe, for example, where they hijacked the entire materials, or was it in Southern Niger? Maybe we wouldn't have expected to win Southern Niger because David Leon is from Southern Niger. But how can you give us 8,000 votes and 120-something thousand votes to APC? Does that make any sense? Where there were no voting materials? Look at Nembe, for example. We had less than 10% of the votes in Nembe. You see, the situation was such that they took us back to those ugly days. Look at Kogi, where I wasn't even monitoring. Or Kenne, for example. We had 139 votes to 112,000 votes for the APC. Are you trying to tell me that it's only 139 people that support PDP in Okene? They made a mockery of these elections. And
let me allow Honorable Farouk Adamu Aliyu to respond to some of the allegations that you have raised. Honorable Adamu Aliyu, how would you react? Because he is taking those allegations at the doorstep of your party.
Yeah. You see, I refuse to accept the fact that a member of PDP is not a Nigerian. So to me, a Nigerian was killed, and my party is so sad and angry that a Nigerian was killed. So let's not look at it from a party point of view. And look, we're not here to discuss the elections now. We're here to discuss the aftermath, the violence, and so on. For the election, my little answer to Ken is let them go to court and prove their case. But look, let us please stop talking about parties now. A Nigerian was killed, or Nigerians were killed. How do we make sure that no other Nigerian is killed again? Let's talk from that point of view. We in the APC condemn the killing of any Nigerian across the divide, whether you are from APC or let him not look at it that we have benefited. Well, we won the election. If they are not satisfied, let them go to court and prove their case. But that's not the issue, as I said. If a Nigerian is wounded, if a Nigerian is killed, we feel sad about it and we're not happy. And as APC, the government of APC will ensure that the perpetrators are arrested and prosecuted. And I call on all of us as Nigerians to monitor what is going to happen with the people that perpetrated this action. But let's move on to ensure this thing does not happen again. How? By doing politics the way we should, by selling our ideas, by not making it life and death affair, by ensuring that...
Let's talk about solution now, and we need to quickly wrap up. Mr. Itodo, what do you think is the way out? Over 60,000 in 2 states are the numbers of police officers that were deployed, yet we saw the scale of violence that happened in those 2 states. In just few words, what is the way out?
I think it's accountability, accountability, accountability. there is need to actually audit the deployment of security agencies for these states. We have at YAGA Africa and other civil society organizations, based on our reports, exposed complicity on the part of security agencies, where this intimidation and violence happened in the full glare of state security apparatus, particularly the police and other security agencies, and they didn't do anything to either forestall or reprimand the perpetrators, and that's unacceptable, and that needs to be addressed. The second is the need for an Electoral Offences Commission. Good thing the National Assembly has put this as part of its priority. There is need to have an Electoral Offences Commission. But I'd like to say that it's not, when you call political parties in the course of either investigation or in the course of this discussion, it's about placing agency and responsibility where it is. If a particular party had sponsored thugs into our elections and compromised our elections, I think the best we can do and the service we owe to this country is to actually mention the actors, whether the political parties and their sponsors. Because for those who are out on the streets, who are killing people, they are sponsored by a category of our
Mr.
political
Estodo,
class.
we need to go now. And let me allow Mr. Okolugbo his final thought, but that's going to be in 20 seconds. Mr. Okolugbo, in 20 seconds, what is the way out of this quagmire? Killing of people at elections. The way out, in few words.
A very strong legislation and a sense of purpose and a change of attitude from the security agencies. The loyalty should not only be to the government in power, but to be to Nigerians. And that's the truth.
So much, Mr. Ken Okolugbo, member of the PDP. Honorable Farouk Adamu Aliyu, with your experience in the National Assembly, is a chieftain of the APC, and Mr. Samson Itodo, a lawyer and the executive director of YAGA Africa. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on tonight. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimale. Bye for now.